Hello, I'm Alessandro Di Chico, and thank you for purchasing my tutorial. This is a nice photo of Nico I took, and we're gonna make this we're gonna transform this photo into a nice warm looking photo. We're gonna add a fake sky here. More than fake sky, we're gonna add a sky overlay. It's an actual real sky, but it's not actually here, so we're going to transform this into a real sky. I'm gonna make all of the background the same color as the sky, and we're gonna work on the skin. So okay, let's get started. So I open this up in Lightroom. First thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make this photo. As I said, I want a kind of a dawn effect or sunset effect, so I'm gonna make this photo actually a little bit warmer with the temperature. So I'm gonna move this up a little bit more. We don't want to exaggerate a lot because we actually see in the skin tones here. As you can see now, it's slightly become yellow, so it's not too much and it's still natural, so I will keep it here. Now we can move on with the tint and see if the greens, by adding the greens, will actually become more natural and realistic, or add in some magenta. I think I would leave it at 2. We don't want to move it too much. So this is what we have done now. As you can see, it's slightly more yellowish, so it's gonna look more realistic in the finished photo. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to work with contrast, the highlights, the shadows, the whites and the blacks. So you're going to see I'm going to take off slightly the contrast, so the eyes will slightly come out more and all the imperfections on the skin will come out, but we don't want to exaggerate, so I'm going to leave this at -15. And now for the highlights, the only highlights strong that I see in this photo are actually here on the face. I actually like the way the highlights look. As you can see, it doesn't actually, it only moves the cheekbones here, so I'm not going to touch that a lot. I'm going to touch the shadows to make everything, the imperfections and the eyes come out even more. So just around here. Around 10, that's okay. For the whites, as the same as the highlights, I'm not going to touch them because the skin tone and the whites on the skin are not too much, and so I'm just going to leave them as they are. And for the blacks, I'm actually going to add some blacks by taking this to the minus, so just around here. Okay, that looks good. And I want to add some clarity to it, so the photo is going to pop out a little bit more. I normally do this, set the clarity from 0 to 20 because I don't like to exaggerate with the clarity a lot. So I'm going to move it to around 10. Okay, that looks really good. Now for the rest, I like the skin tones. As you can see, there is some red here. We can actually remove that a little bit by going on a HSL here, go to hue and taking the reds slightly to the orange. So to around here. Okay, now once I've done that, I'm going to add some sharpening and put it to around 20. Okay, that looks really good. And this is how we started, and this is what we've done in just a few steps in Lightroom. We made it much clearer, more contrasty, and it would be much easier to work out in Photoshop. So we're going to open this up in Photoshop, so right click, edit in, and edit in Photoshop. Okay. Now once we're here, we're gonna work on the skin and the eyes and everything first before working on the actual background and sky. So we're gonna open the perfect portrait action. So it's this one, and we can start working on the eyes. So here's perfect eyes, and we can press the number 1, which is lighter. Now as you can see, a black mask has opened up, so we're going to select a white brush. Make sure you have a soft brush, and you can set this to 100, and we're going to make this smaller, and we're just going to paint inside the iris, so here and here, like this. Okay, we want to take down this a little bit and take it to around 70. We don't want nothing to be exaggerated, all has to look natural. And we want to work on a contrast of the eyes. So this is a group that's opened up, perfect eyes 2, and here there are 2 black masks. One says paint on bright and one paint on dark. And with the paint on bright, we want to paint inside the iris, always at 100%. 1 and 2. And paint on dark, we just want to make this really small and paint outside here. And here. Okay, now this doesn't look good because it's at 100 here, so we want to take the layer, the group opacity down. So take it all the way down and move it up until you find it more natural as possible. So I think around 20 is good. Okay, that looks really good. So this is what we've done now. Okay, once we've done that, there's white area we don't want to touch because it's I quite like it. We don't want to touch the color of the eyes too because they're good, and we just want to sharpen the eyes. So we go straightly on number 5, press play, and there's a black mask here, so we're going to get a white brush and just paint inside all of the eye here. Okay, you want to take the opacity down and move it, and I will move it to around 27. Okay, good. Okay, that looks really good. Okay, once we've done this, we pass all the way down to perfect skin. We're not going to do the hair because he has really dark hair, and so we don't want to actually touch the color at all. So we go to perfect skin here. We're going to flatten the image, and we're going to press frequency separation. Now this comes up and dust and scratches, and you have to decide what amount of blur you want to give it to the photo, and we want to have a blur that's in between a really blurred photo to a non-blurred photo, so we have to find an in between. So this is a really blurred one, and this is not blurred at all. We're just going to move this up a little bit. So I think around 9 is good. It's good because you can still see the lines and see the eyes and everything, but the details on the skin have disappeared, so that is good. And we press OK. Now we open up the frequency separation group and we press on high. And now with a clone stamp tool, we just start cleaning our skin. So we select it, and we want to select a piece of skin that is really clean. So we select this by holding down the Alt button and left click with the mouse, and then you just release it. And once you've done that, we have the piece of the skin that we have cloned, so we can start cloning it out. So I normally clone areas that are near the imperfection, so I'm going to clone here now, and I'm just going to go down So when you actually see this, I'm actually holding down the Alt to clone this piece out of the to clone a piece out of the skin that I want to clone out. So when you see this, you're actually seeing that I'm pressing the Alt key down. Can actually work on not only on the face, you can work on the neck, the arms, and the whole body with this action. Okay. Okay, I think we're done. So this is what we have now, this is what we had before. Okay, and now what we have to do is we actually want to apply the frequency separation to it. So we're going to press on the low layer here, get the lasso tool, make sure feather is at 8, and we want to select a part of the skin. So once we've done that, we want to apply the blur. We're going to go to Gaussian blur, and we want to enter the same amount that we entered at the start. So we entered 9, so I'm going to enter 9, and I'm going to apply the frequency separation to the selected areas that I'm going to select by pressing Ctrl Alt F, or on the older versions of Photoshop is Ctrl F, on a Mac is Command F. So we're just going to start, select here, and I'm going to press Ctrl Alt F. You can press it 2 times if you like, and we're just going to do the same to some parts. So here, just want to take this and like this. Okay. Gonna go down on the neck too. And one on the forehead too. Okay. So this is what we had before. This is what we have now. Okay, looks really good. So I'm going to open up the frequency, the perfect portrait action. I'm going to continue this. So I want to go to dodge and burn-in and press flatten image, and we want to press the dodge and burn one. So as you can see, 2 layers have come out. One is dodge and one is burn. So with the dodge one, I'm going to get a white brush and set it to 20%. And when you're doing this, make sure that you don't leave the mouse or the pen from your board. It's really important because you don't have to pass on it 2 times but only once. So here it is. You're going to start from the nose and paint all the forehead in. Okay, so here, that's about it. We're going to go a bit under the eyelashes. Sorry, the eyebrows. We're going to go a bit on the cheekbones. Made it too up, so I'm going to undo that. Here. Okay. Here. And a bit here. As you can see, this is too much, so I'm going to undo that, and I'm going to put it to 10. So 1 and 2. And this is what we have now. And now I want to add the dark areas. So with the burn, I'm going to start from here and just paint in. We want to put it to 20. Okay, from this. Then we're going to paint inside the nose, so here, under the nose here, here, and here. Okay. I can actually do this as well, on this, and we want to do one under his cheekbone, so here. Okay, that looks good. So what we have created is actually this. We made it more three-dimensional and he stands out a little bit more from the photo, but I want to turn the opacity of all the layer down a little bit, so around 60-65 would be good. Okay, so once we've done this, we don't want to work with the lips because these are mostly for girls. So we want to flatten the image, and now this is where we're going to work with the background. So the first thing we want to do is I want to make the background a brownish look. So I'm going to make this brown with the infra brown action. Press play. And with a white brush set to 100, just going to paint everywhere outside the model. Now I went a little bit on his face too, so I'm going to invert the colors from white to black, and I want to repaint so I get the original effect. As you can see, I'm removing the little bit of a brown that I created. Okay, that looks good. We saw that before. This is what we have now. Okay, so I'm going to flatten the image, and now I'm going to add the sky overlay. So first thing we're going to do is I'm going to select, going to get a quick selection, Magic Wand selection tool, and I'm going to put it to around 100. I'm putting it down to 100 just because the hat is completely in shape with the sky, so it doesn't have all the points that it could just get in. So I'm just going to click the white area, and as you can see, it has selected this. So what we're going to do now with this selection, I'm going to create a group, and I'm going to mask it out. And as you can see, the layer mask has the selection that I just made. So the white is going to show what's inside this group, and the black is going to hide it. So we're going to rename this layer to sky overlay, and now I'm just going to go and add a sky overlay here, and I think the number 4 is good for the colors and everything, and I'm just going to put it around here. And now as you can see, I put it here, but I'm going to put it down here, so it looks good. So once I've done this, I want to put this to multiply. Okay, and what I'm going to do now with a white brush, I'm going to paint all of this off. So start like this. Okay. Okay, that's good. Just want to fix it here. So white brush, brush and black brush, and I want to paint out where I went on the action. So here, okay, this is what we have. Okay. And now what we have to do now, as you can see, the background is blurred, so I want to blur out the sky as well. So I'm going to go to filter, blur, Gaussian blur, and I want to make the sky as more realistic as possible. So I think around 18 is good. Okay. Now, as you can see, we have all these things here, these dark sides, these dark paintings of the overlay. So I'm going to select back the layer mask, and with a black brush, I'm going to set it to around 30, and I'm just going to soften this out a little bit. Okay, that looks good. And if you want, you can take the opacity of the sky down a little bit. So I would say around to 90. Okay, that looks good. I want to flatten the image. Okay, once I've done this, I want to make everything pop out a little bit more. So I'm going to go to Filter, Nick Collection, Color Effects Pro 4. And I'm going to go and choose the Pro Contrast. And I'm simply going to move this up until I find the nice contrast that I like. So I think around 30 is good. So okay, I'm going to leave it to that. Okay, that looks good. And now we want to add a color toning to the photo. So we're going to go down to color toning, and we're simply going to, first we're going to flatten the image, and we're going to select a color toning that we like. Okay, the number 2 is interesting. We're going to see the others as well. No, don't like that one either. That looks alright. Yeah, so I'm going to go with color toning number 7 here, and I'm just put it down the opacity to around 30. So this is what we had before, this is what we have now. Looks good. And now we want to add a little bit of details to it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the perfect portrait action and go all the way down to detail. And with a white brush, I'm going to set it to 100 and paint only on the model. That's it. Okay, and as you can see, this is too much, so I'm going to go all the way down to 0 and start going up until I find the right and not too exaggerated detail. So I think around 30 is good. Yeah, looks good. Now what I want to do is I want to add a light, a sun that comes out from here, a soft one. So I'm going to go to overlays, and I'm going to go to light pack overlay, and I'm going to select a soft sun. I'm going to select sun number 12. I'm just going to place it down here and put it to screen. Okay. Okay, this looks really good. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some grain to the background. So I'm going to flatten the image. I want to duplicate the image. Nick Collection, Color Effects Pro 4. I'm going to go to film grain, and as you can see, it adds some grain to the photo before after, but this is too much. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this down, the first one. Okay, I actually like it like this, so I'm going to leave it like this and press OK. It looks good, and now we want to take it slightly off from the model. So we're going to create a layer mask here, get a black brush and set it to 50. We can just paint here just to take some of that grain off. We're not going to take it all off, but just a little bit. Okay, this looks good. Now for the final touch, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the boost. And yeah, let me see if I can take a little bit down. Yeah, so I will leave it to around 50. Yeah, it looks really good. And I want to crop it slightly down like this, so it's in a rule of thirds. Okay, just around here. And now we have finished our photo. So this is what we have now, and this is what we started with. So before and after, before and after. Okay, hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I'll see you on the next tutorial. Thank you.